Welcome to today's webinar. My name is John, and today we're going to be going over the mobile hardware and application basics. This is going to include ELD installation, initial configuration, as well as downloading and using the Keller Mobile App. Now first off, let's go over the three components of the Keller Mobile system. You're going to start off with the ELD device mounted inside of the vehicle. It's going to be connected to the diagnostics port of your engine, and it's going to collect data. From there, the ELD connects to the smart device with the mobile app via a Bluetooth cell signal. And then finally, that smart device is going to connect to Encompass with a Wi-Fi or data signal. It's going to take all of the data from the ELD in your smart device and bring it over to Encompass. Now, before you can start collecting data, you're going to need to get that ELD installed, so let's cover the basics. Now, before installing, you're going to want to confirm that you received the correct harness type. It's going to plug into your vehicle's diagnostics port. Shown here are the 5 different types you could encounter. You're going to first plug one end of the harness into your vehicle's diagnostics port. And the other end is going to plug into the back of your ELD. You're going to make sure it's screwed in tight with the tool that was provided. Now here's just one example of where you can place the ELD inside of your truck. What's going to be most important is to make sure that the driver has visibility and access to the box if needed. Now if you want to make sure that this is installed within the reach so that your driver can access the reset button when necessary. Now that we've installed the hardware, let's go over the steps on how to configure the ELD with the phone or tablet you've chosen to use. Before you begin the configuration process, there are a couple critical factors to keep in mind. The first is that Bluetooth must be turned on in your device settings. Second, a data connection is going to be needed during this initial configuration and login. Now this means you're going to want to do this initial setup out in the open so that you have a good, strong cell signal. If you perform this setup inside of a shop, this can sometimes interfere with this process. And then finally, the vehicle must be running in order for you to identify the engine data required for the initial configuration. Now once you've ensured that these are taken care of, now the first thing you're going to need to do is to navigate to the Google Play Store for Android or the App Store for Apple, search for Keller Mobile and download it. Don't worry if you have one or the other. This presentation contains screen images for both devices, and I'll explain any minor differences in the setup process between the two. Now once downloaded, you're going to see this icon installed on your phone or tablet. You're going to tap on that to open up the application. Now an activation code is going to be required for this first time login. You're going to enter in the activation code that you set up in Encompass, and this can be found inside of your Encompass system. As a reminder, this is found in Setup, Keller Mobile Settings, Mobile Company Settings. Now if you haven't already or need a refresher, I recommend viewing or attending the Getting Started with Encompass webinar, as this walks you through the setup requirements in Encompass for that activation code. Now once you've entered in the code, go ahead and click on Activate. Now once activated, you're going to be prompted to log in with the username and password you set up for in Encompass. That's found in Setup, Keller Mobile Settings, Mobile User Logins. Now I do want to point out that the most common option is going to be to log in as solo driver. Note that if you need to, there is a check hours option, which is going to enable your driver to view their available hours without going to an on-duty status. Now once you do log in, the safety warning is going to appear, as shown here, and it's going to show up every time as a reminder to not use this or any mobile device while driving. Now again, that Bluetooth needs to be turned on in your device settings. For Apple, you're going to leave the Keller Mobile application, And you're going to go into your device's Bluetooth settings and pair to the serial number of the ELD that's installed. Now, once you show it here, verify that the serial number is correct by looking at the number on the side of the ELD box, and you're going to select and wait for it to say connected. You're now going to return to the Keller Mobile application and then tap Discover. You're going to notice that once you do this, you're going to receive a Bluetooth pairing request. Again, inside this Android device, once you get that request, you're going to verify that the serial number you want to pair to is correct, and then tap OK. Now, once you discovered the correct serial number, you're going to select it and then click Activate as shown. You're then going to be taken to a screen where you can rename the ELD to your unit number, as well as the engine data bus that your ELD will be getting your engine data from your vehicle on. Now, for most harness types, you're going to just let the application auto-detect as shown, and then hit OK. Now, most of the time, you're going to see one of these in the list already chosen by the time you get here. Now, if you have a diagnostics port of any type other than the green 9-pin, you're just going to let the application pick the data bus type here for you, and then you're going to hit OK. Now, that being said, if you have a vehicle with a green 9-pin diagnostics port, then instead of letting the application pick for you, you're going to need to pick one of these. Now, once chosen, you're going to hit OK or Save, which is going to trigger a firmware update. This is going to be required for this type of connection. Now, the report takes about 7 minutes to run, so please don't move your vehicle or disconnect the Bluetooth while this is happening. However, while you're waiting, you can turn the vehicle off until this is complete. Now, at this point, for Apple devices, you're going to be prompted to return to your device settings, turn your Bluetooth off, and then turn it back on again. This is going to be necessary to sync to the new truck number you've just entered. If you recall, earlier we synced here to the serial number, and now that we've changed it to read the truck number, you just need to make the adjustments here in the Bluetooth settings. Now, the next step in the initial configuration is to do an odometer calibration. You're going to verify that the odometer value shown on your vehicle's dashboard is correct, and then make any changes to the odometer that is shown here. And then you're going to click OK. Now that we've completed the configuration, you're going to see a prompt coming up looking for missing logs. Since this is probably the first time your driver is logged in, and the system stores up to 14 logs on a device, you're going to see a notification here asking if you'd like to create off-duty logs for the dates that are listed. Now, it's going to be important for your driver to always acknowledge this, as they may need these off-duty logs in order to qualify for a 34-hour reset. Now, if you're just beginning with the system, I recommend just hitting yes or OK to fill in those logs. Now your driver is going to then be prompted to enter in the trip information each time they log into the application. Now keep in mind the shipment info is required, and you will have a DOT violation if you leave this space blank. However, if you're dealing with the same trailer or the same shipment type on a regular basis, you do have the option to make those default, which means it'll fill in every time your driver logs into the application. Now, the edit location prompt is only going to appear if a driver logs in without connecting to the ELD. The GPS antenna is built into the ELD, so if connected, it should automatically generate. If not, however, you're going to see a prompt to enter in a location. This feature can also be utilized when a driver is not driving for the day and will simply be in an on-duty status. Now that we've completed the initial configuration, there's just one more step you're going to want to do to verify that everything is working. And then we can talk about the driver's daily functions inside the application. Now that we're successfully logged in, You just want to go to do one thing, and that's going to be verifying the EOBR data. To do this, you're going to navigate to Menu, System Menu, Diagnostics, and then click on EOBR data. Once on this screen, you're going to confirm the value for the following 3 data points. Is the engine currently running? Is the dashboard odometer correct? And is there a positive value in the tachometer? If all those are correct, you know that your device is properly configured. So let's move on to the Keller Mobile App homepage. Now the green bar at the top is going to show you the current driver, the location of the last duty status change, the current duty status and the rule set the driver is operating under, and then the time of the last duty status change. There's also going to be 4 icons for your driver to use. View log, which is going to let the driver view and update their log information. EOBR connectivity, vehicle inspection for pre- and post-trip DVIRs, and the option to log off at the end of their shift. Now let's take a moment to talk about that EOBR connection status. Now a green icon showing the truck number they're in and a status of online. This is going to indicate a proper pairing of devices. Now a blue icon is going to indicate that the EOBR is reading history. This is okay, and it should switch to green when it's done. Typically, it only takes a few minutes, and it'll be done before your driver even finishes their pre-trip inspection. Now a gray icon is going to tell the driver that the EOBR has become disconnected. Click on that icon to go back to the discovery screen to attempt to pair up again. And then finally, a red icon is going to indicate a systems error. Should this ever happen, drivers should call into support to get help resolving this. And if necessary, they should be prepared to use their backup paper logs. Now for the vehicle inspection icon, there's going to be 4 options to choose from within this inspection screen. You're going to choose pre-trip or post-trip for powered units, or new trailer inspection for a towed unit. Now for these trailer inspections, you're going to need to make sure you're accurately entering in the trailer number. If the number you enter in does not match the trailer number entered into Encompass, you're going to receive a missing info alert. Now to start, let's talk about a pre-trip DVIR. Now the app is going to default to no defects satisfactory. In the event that there are no defects, the driver would just click on Submit. Now, however, in an iOS device, if there are defects, you're going to need to select the No Defects option and then unselect it. Now, that being said, you'll also have this option directly on the screen if you're looking at an Android device. In either case, you're going to go ahead and unselect that check mark. That's going to bring up an image. Now this image here shows a portion of the defect drop-down list that the driver is going to view once they uncheck that box. They're going to want to select the appropriate remark. In this case, there indicates something's wrong with the tail light. Then they're going to want to add a remark. This makes sure that your driver makes it easy for you to locate what the problem is. In this case, they're indicating that the tail light was broken on the left side. And then once all this is done, they're going to go ahead and submit that DVIR. Now, after completing the pre-trip inspection and double-checking to make sure that the device is still connected, your driver can then begin their day. Now, viewing on to the View Clocks icon. Now, this screen is going to let a driver know how many logs and hours they have left in the day. And this is also going to be the screen a driver is going to see automatically after moving the vehicle over the threshold set up in Encompass. Typically, this is a half mile. Now, that first clock is going to show both driving hours and time until the driver needs to take a 30-minute rest break. That's the number in parentheses. The middle clock is daily on-duty hours, and the last clock is weekly hours available. Now, when a driver has 1 hour remaining in a category, the clock's going to turn yellow, and should the driver go over hours in any category, it's going to turn red. Now also within the View Log icon, the driver can modify trip information They do this by clicking on Edit. They can change the information they entered in earlier regarding the trailer number and shipment info, and they may need to do this if they drop and hook trailers during the day or even haul multiple nodes. It's going to be important. They should not be erasing the beginning trailer info or shipment information. Rather, they should be separating the old and new information with a comma. Now, during various duty status changes during the day, a driver is going to be able to add log remarks by clicking on the View Log icon. And then from there, they're going to click on View Log Remarks. They're going to go ahead and select Add Log Remark next to the duty status they want to change. And they're going to choose from a standard default list of log remarks by clicking on Select Remark. Now here are some of the remarks they can choose from. Just select whatever is appropriate. Now a driver can select from this drop-down list, or they can always type in their own, as shown here. Regardless of what they do, once this is done, they're going to click Save. Now let's talk about what to do when you want to change your duty status. For example, when it's time for your driver to take a 30-minute rest break, they're going to simply click on the duty status screen in the green bar, or they can go into Menu, New Status. Once here, your driver is going to select OK when off duty is shown in the status drop-down. Now, if you selected personal conveyance or high rail allowed when you set up your hours of service rules in Encompass, the new status screen is where you're going to indicate those appropriate statuses. However, for the off-duty, once you select that, an off-duty clock is going to appear in a blue bar and will count the number of minutes in an off-duty status. Now just keep in mind that the system tracks duty statuses down to the minute. So if your driver takes a 26-minute rest break rather than the mandatory 30-minute rest break, they will be flagged for a violation. Next, let's review the process of what to do in the event of a roadside inspection, and your driver is asked to show their logs. Now the first thing they're going to want to do is go into the roadside inspection mode by clicking on Menu. Now once in the menu drop-down, they're going to go ahead and select Roadside Inspection. From here, your driver is going to be prompted to enter in a log-on password. This is going to be the same password the driver used when they logged into the Keller Mobile App. And they're going to hit OK. Once this is done and the roadside inspection mode is enabled, the antenna, vehicle inspection, and log off icons will not function. The only other areas you're going to be able to access are what's necessary for the officer while during the inspection. Now, if the officer requests the driver to pull up logs in the Keller Mobile App, the driver is going to select the following: Menu, System Menu, and they're going to click on Reports. Now, the most common report they're going to want to access is the Duty Status Report, in which you're going to be able to view the last 7 days of logs plus today's. Now, from this screen, you can view the summary, as well as the detail reports for each day. And additional information such as locations, rule sets, shipment info, and mileage will also be viewable. Now the driver is going to disable the roadside inspection mode the same way they enabled it, by going to Menu, Roadside Inspection, and then entering in a login password. Now I do want to note that a laminated card should have been supplied with your ELD equipment, and your driver should keep this with them in the vehicle at all times. This is going to do a nice step-by-step reminder on how to do this roadside inspection mode, as well as provide some support numbers they can reach out if they ever need any help. Now at the end of the day, a driver is going to submit a post-trip inspection using that vehicle inspection icon. This is going to work in the exact same way as a pre-trip inspection. Again, the app's going to always default to no defect satisfactory, and in the event that this is correct, the driver would just simply click Submit. Now, if there are defects, they're going to uncheck that box, select the defect, add a remark, and then submit. Now, at the end of the day, before logging off, we highly recommend that a driver check for any unassigned events that might have occurred during the day. Now, an unassigned event occurs when there's no one logged into the Keller Mobile App or connected to the ELD via Bluetooth while the truck is in motion. Now, by checking for unassigned events, you can avoid having them being sent to Encompass for an admin to deal with, and ensuring that your driver's logs are 100% correct when they submit. Now, your driver is going to do this by clicking on Menu, selecting System Menu, and click Records. And they're going to choose Unassigned Driving Periods. And here we can see unassigned driving periods with details of when they occurred. Now, the driver can select the checkbox to the left and hit Claim if they happened during his shift. Now, if there are no events listed and there were no unassigned driving periods, the driver can just click on Done. Now, at the end of the day, the driver is going to select that Log Off icon. And this is going to give the driver the option to select their actual time off duty. Now, the system is going to default to Now, but the drop-down also allows them the option to log off in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, or to enter in an exact time. Now, that Submit Logs on Logout box will be checked by default and should always stay checked in order for the logs to be viewable in the back office end of Encompass. And with that, I'm going to end today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining me, and have a great day.